All right. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another Market Conversations. Jerry Hall, broadcasting from beautiful Costa Rica. Tonight is a really interesting show in a number of ways. Number one, I have Tobias Heaslip, the CEO and founder of TradingTV. We're going to discuss that new platform, but also his journey learning about investments. Now, what is really incredible about what's going on right this minute is that the market, of course, our beloved digital asset space, is in yet another upswing. And with upswings come a tremendous amount of A, media exposure, B, folks that you forgot about in your life. Facebook friends you might not have talked to in 15 years start coming out of the woodwork and asking questions. It's a really interesting time in that herd mentality is all about driving the trend, whereas good investment strategy would dictate not putting your money in the market right now. Quickly, before I bring on Tobias, I will tell you what I'm doing. I had an allocation today. Total, not a big deal, $200. My total investment into the actual digital asset space, $70. $130 into USDC. The reason I'm doing so is because with every very violent move up, there is always some correction. So I'm looking at targets around 10 to 15% below the level that we're seeing right this minute before I will deploy that cash. Obviously, this is not investment advice. It's just my investment opinion. And I stole that from Rob at Digital Asset News. Anyway, so I'm going to quickly say hello to who's come into the chat. We got Johnny Midas from Palm Springs. Thanks for coming in early. Simon. Bill Gould is in the house. Scorpion, who will join us live in studio next week. We've got Bill Gould, Steve Willits, Lori Bearfield, nice to see you. Pete Kelly's in the house. DC Precise. Lorena's in the house. Kelly Slade, otherwise known as Costa Rica Kelly, for those of you on Twitter. Without any further ado, folks, let me bring in my guest, though, Tobias. Tobias, nice to have you on the show tonight, man. How are you?
I'm doing so well. Thank you so much for having me, Jerry.
Well, it's great to have you. For those folks that don't know, I was introduced to Tobias by Nick Black, and that was through an email. We set up an interview. We talked for an hour, and basically Tobias and his team told me about TradingTV, and I was interested, and therefore I am joining TradingTV. So very soon, not only will we be doing this live broadcast on YouTube, but we will be creating content for TradingTV. I've already started to migrate some of my interviews over there. And there's two things I want to talk to you about tonight, Tobias. Number one is TradingTV. Obviously, I want to let people understand and know about that. But I also want to talk about Tobias as a human being, as a man, as a person walking the planet, and how you're combating the ever-present dilemma of the money you earn through your time and efforts being eroded by forces outside of you. How are you combating that yourself personally? So like your journey as an investor. So we can go either thread first and then the other second. You get to pick.
All right, let's start with the personal journey first.
All right, let's do it.
All right, cool. So yeah, as you mentioned, I'm Tobias Francis Heaslip. I'm actually from Naples, Florida originally, and the first half of my life was defined by the pursuit of a professional hockey career. So I know what you guys are thinking. Florida, black kid playing hockey, you know, definitely chosen the path less traveled as a life decision, and that is so true. Turns out that, you know, I was actually pretty good at it. I was able to earn a scholarship to prep school, and that was the first time that I was actually exposed to any form of wealth in my life. I came from an underprivileged setup in my hometown, never really spoke about money because money was a taboo subject because we didn't have any. And when I was in prep school, I was surrounded by all these people who were tremendously wealthy, and a lot of their parents worked in financial markets as either investment bankers, hedge fund managers, you know, sovereign wealth funds, all the rest of this stuff. And that was really my first exposure to financial markets. And I remember going to dinner a lot with a lot of these people and just asking about it and finding it so interesting, the way that money moves, companies, M&A deals, all of that stuff. So when I got into college, I knew right away that I was going to either study economics or finance. I ended up doing finance with applied mathematics, and was able to get an internship at a local hedge fund in Dallas, Texas, as an undergrad. And so I actually started trading in college. So by the time I had graduated from college, I'd already had a few years of trading experience, was able to leverage that coming from a non-target school. I went to school at SMU, Cox School of Business in Dallas, to be able to get an internship at Goldman Sachs, worked my way into Morgan Stanley equity trading. And that was really where things started to click. It was right around 2009, 2010. So social media was just becoming an investable asset class. And here I was, a young kid straight out of college. I was obviously one of the people that was on social media because all my friends were on social media. And these companies were coming public for the first time. So, the firm said, okay, well, you actually understand these things. Why don't you become our resident social media expert? So I did that and was lucky enough to work on some of the early deals like Groupon, Facebook, Pandora, Zynga. And I've always been focused on social media as a subset of technology ever since. I went from there to a hedge fund where I was responsible for social media investing, also fintech investing, consumer-oriented internet and payments. And then 5 years ago, moved to an investment bank called Barclays, where I ran all of technology, media, and telecom trading. So it's felt like a very organic journey for me, moving from being a professional investor focused on social media and fintech to now being an entrepreneur and building a social fintech company.
So let me ask you this, because I find it really interesting. My personal background is I pursued gratification and fun. Money always came easy to me until I got old and nobody wanted me anymore. And then I realized very quickly I was going to need to change. But somebody growing up in your age group, with your demographic, I'm curious how many of your peers got an education and an understanding of money, markets, investing, etc. Because mine didn't.
So very few. I think, one of the things that's interesting about the United States and the curriculum we have is that money and general financial literacy just isn't taught, no matter, where you go to school. And, even going to college, like I graduated from college with a finance degree, and I really didn't understand how financial markets work. Like, sure, I studied finance in college, but I think we all kind of understand how that works. You kind of get in a room a couple days before the test and you memorize some stuff, you take the test, you get an A or whatever, and then you basically forget it. So when I went to Wall Street, I was under the impression that I understood how things worked, but everything I know about financial markets, I learned on the job. And the interesting part about, my career is for the first 8 or 9 years, really until 2019, 2020, when the pandemic started, none of my friends really cared what I did. I didn't get a lot of text messages or questions. Sure, every now and then at dinner or something like that, if a big deal happened, people would ask about it, but it wasn't really like it is now in terms of like the top of the conversation and pop culturally relevant. And then Robinhood started to gain in popularity. People started to play around with that. Pandemic happened. And then for the first time in a long time, really since the early 2000s, the world started to care about financial markets in a way that we haven't seen before. And that was really when I realized that, like, okay, there's something here. Like my phone started to blow up. My group chats were all like screenshots of people that were trying to trade for the first time ever, and no one had any idea what to do. And as I started to explore this from the standpoint of like, okay, like, I don't want to be the go-to source of information for, all my friends. Where can I direct them online to be able to get information, to be able to learn, to be able to consume content? I just saw a gaping hole in the market. And that was really the impetus for started the ideation stage of what eventually became TradingTV, which is the ability to be able to find content online that's both educational and entertaining. And then once you do the heavy lifting of actually facilitating the relationship between creators and the audiences, it would make sense that, you create a synchronous environment where you can trade directly on the platform.
I think that is incredible. And what a neat segue into walking down what is TradingTV. But before we get there, there are a few folks that I would be remiss if I did not shout out. Ellie Poole, nice to have you in the house. T. Rich, thanks for joining us tonight. Michael Bing is in the house. Dakota, a fan, just an absolute channel favorite. Edward's here tonight. Kathleen, all the way from Hawaii. Aloha, young lady. And let's see if I missed anybody. JDO. First of the month club. Hey, nice to have you. And of course, YOLO Buck is in the house. All right. So you've got a heck of a pedigree, right? You've got a history. You have an understanding. Obviously, you have a passion. There is an element of passion with progress and technology that tends to germinate with some people, and the ones that really take that ball and run with it tend to either do one of two things, right? Become just successfully fulfilled emotionally and spiritually, or those two things and filthy rich, right? Depending upon, does it get adopted, right? And so let's walk through the process, not from necessarily a sales pitch or what TradingTV is, because they're going to get enough, my audience will get enough from me on that. Let's look at this from the view of the entrepreneur starting this adventure, because the truth of the matter is it's a relatively new thing, trying to marry a social media platform with a financial services platform. That is relatively new. I don't know of anybody else doing this.
Yeah, so I call it tradable live streaming, and we invented it, but I did get inspiration from looking around existing technologies. So from an entrepreneurial perspective, when I was investing, in the beginning of my investing career, everything from an innovation standpoint started in America, primarily in California, Silicon Valley, and then permeated through the rest of the world. And that was like in 2009, 2010 type time frame. In about 2015, 2016, that actually switched. So China and the Southeast Asian countries, specifically as it relates to consumer-facing product, are now materially ahead of the United States. For example, in the United States, the concept of a super app doesn't exist. And when I say super app, I mean an app like, say, a WeChat, where yes, it's a chat app,
is in there,
but it's everything in one app, right? In America, we're still on this like 15 pages of, iPhone apps. Some of them are dormant, some of them are active, whatever. So there was a movement that was happening in China called shoppable live streaming. And the funny thing about technology is, similar to fashion, it's really a repurpose of a fairly old idea. So in this case, it was a repurpose of QVC and HSN, which my mom and grandma have been watching since, since I was a little kid. So the concept is you have a creator or a host, whatever you want to call them, and they give you the contextual relevance towards whatever items they're selling. Sometimes it's a tchotchke, sometimes it's a home good, whatever. But then you can dial in and there's some form of call to action and, like limited time only, that sort of thing. So in China, shoppable live streaming started to take off, and they were selling everything from beauty products, personal, home goods, and then even like financial products, mortgages. And I thought, wow, okay, like this is a user experience that should resonate with folks, because we need to be able to educate people on what all of these financial assets actually are. I think that's like the first step in the journey. People will say, okay, and it's not just stocks, it's NFTs and it's altcoins and it's all the rest of these things. So what is that user journey? The user journey is, I go to Google and I search, what is an NFT? And if that experience is like requiring me to read a very long white paper or something like that, most people kind of like give up at that stage. But if there's video component to it, or more importantly, if there was a live stream component where I could watch someone speak about that NFT, and then I could get into a format like we're in right now, where the audience could actually ask me questions directly, and then it would be really cool. What would be really cool is if I could then buy that asset direct from the live stream. So that was kind of the inspiration for it. And because there's so many various like the asset class growth in terms of what people are willing to invest in is just moving so much faster than technology can keep up with. I wanted to standardize that experience such that you didn't have to go to, like, let's say 6 different platforms to be able to accomplish the goal of investing in these various asset classes. I wanted to condense them down into one. And then the cool thing about doing that is then these asset classes can start to speak to one another, meaning that if you're trading on TradingTV in the future you should be able to, let's say, post your NFT collection to get a mortgage, for example. That's the future.
It is the future. Yes. Matter of fact, I've got 10 very young Costa Ricans right outside doing artwork that we can turn into NFTs that we can trade on TradingTV so that I can purchase another piece of Costa Rican property.
Love it.
All right. That's excellent. Good job. One of the things that I find that I, the layman, right, who doesn't understand your business, especially the technology element of it, I'm thinking, okay, I come on to your platform and I'm doing a show and I'm talking about yield, right?
Yep.
Good, solid, standard, age-old, basically fixed income products with the crypto twist of an absolutely, astonishing upside from a capital appreciation of the asset standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about Cardano, and they want to find it. Well, how would they get it? How many products, investable assets, will people actually have access to? Because aren't you going to be limited to the partnerships with the exchanges that you make?
Yeah, exactly. So we're limited to the partnerships that we have. So we start off with stocks this year in Q4. So it gets us access to about 3,000 US listed stocks, fractional shares, ETFs. And then the second partnership that we'll be rolling out in Q1, Q2 will be crypto, and that'll have about 55 coins at launch. Okay. And then from there, it's going to be up to the users. So I'm going to take a community-driven product approach, which is another sort of revolutionary way to build a platform, which is you basically put onto the platform a question and people can upvote what they want to be able to see next. So that could look like NFTs, that could look like trading cards, it could be a sneaker marketplace. All of these things that are now being traded, it kind of depends on what our audience and what our user base wants, and that'll drive our product decision. And then there's the partnership side of things with products that we're not going to be able to offer. So, you mentioned like some form of a yield asset, but we can partner with people and we can say, look, Jerry Hall is talking about this on their show, and like a lot of people were asking about it, and you have the demand for it. So there should be some sort of relationship, whether it's an affiliate partnership or whatever, that you can make with other financial institutions to be able to give users of TradingTV the benefit of being able to get some sort of specialized deal with those things. And because we're collecting so much data on the actual topics and interests, both from the searches that take place on the platform and then all of the metadata associated with the actual content, we can measure in real time what people actually want to engage with, and from the standpoint of actual financial products.
Amazing. Just friggin' amazing, brother. Excuse me. Pardon me. So the thing that I find incredible about where I see a lot of this content, because so much content is audience driven, right? Audience interaction, live video format, whether it's interviews, whether it's just conversation, doesn't matter. The TradingTV platform will be very similar to YouTube in that there could be, at some point, there might be 25, 30 different shows going at the very same time, live. Yeah. And then everything archived for back cataloging of, if somebody wants to go and consume something that happened yesterday or last week or whatever. And then there'll be stuff that's timeless, right? There are things that a conversation with a person about a context or a topic may not be necessarily time specific. It may be timeless.
Yeah,
right?
The shelf life could definitely be extended. There's the stuff that's relevant right here, right now, which is, most of the time that pertains to like trading oriented content during market hours. Although to your point, crypto trades 24/7. So there's that. And then it has the benefit of also being, the time just rotating with the globe. So there's always, like, money doesn't sleep. So there's always something to talk about that's like in the moment right now. But I agree, like there's a lot of educational stuff that does have a very long shelf life. Like it depends on if people are into this or not, but competitive financial modeling is a thing. Learning how to read cash flow statements. A lot of stuff on a lot of stuff as it relates to just personal finance and debt consolidation. Questions that normal people bring up in everyday life, like, hey, I just had a kid. How do I get started saving for college? What's the right way? What's the right way to do that? Or, I got out of college and I've got $200,000 of student loan debt. Like, what do I do? You know what I mean? Like that's never gonna, that's probably a bigger problem 5 years from now than it is today, and a bigger problem 10 years from now than it is 5 years from now. So like, those are the type of questions that we want to be able to answer for people in a super simple, concise manner without using like all of this Wall Street vernacular that's really just
in nice, simple terms. Yeah. One of the things that I found so attractive in our discussion that we had that made my decision to join your platform was the ability to do the technical ability, because Brady and I have sucked at making this happen for this YouTube channel, is the ability to do a live call-in show where in real time an audience member, whether they're whatever device they're listening through, can get on a phone, call a toll-free number or a no-cost number, and talk to the host about and ask their question.
Yeah. So
I want to do that on your platform. And when you said you're rolling that out, I'm like, I'm in, brother.
You know, the funny thing about that as an experience is radio has been doing it for like 60 years, but streaming hasn't caught up to like that experience, right? I mean, the idea of, hey, like we're going to take a call from, whoever that's dialing into the radio station. And it's sort of like, it has the benefit of being content on demand from the standpoint of, just having something that's like unscripted and wasn't necessarily written into whatever the scope of that particular show was about. But it also has the benefit of giving the user the ability to be able, or the audience member, the ability to be able to get their question answered in real time, which is fantastic. So we knew that was something that a lot of people wanted and that it was missing from traditional streaming platforms, whether it's YouTube or Twitch. I didn't know at the time why Twitch wasn't doing it. I've since learned that Twitch doesn't offer real time because Twitch is primarily a gaming platform. And if it was real time, gamers would actually set up their Twitch next to their computer so that they could cheat during a game while they're playing other gamers. So there's a delay intentionally, which is like a 10-second delay. So we built our technology on WebRTC. So if anyone's ever been on Zoom or Google Meets, it's the same technology that Zoom or Google Meets has. Two benefits there. One, it's a zero latency technology, which we've since been able to figure out how to scale. So we think that, as many as 10,000 people could watch a live stream and not have any issues with regard to latency. And because the latency is zero, that means that we can communicate with one another in real time.
Right on. I'm excited. And I'm also let you know and let the audience know I'm gunning for a chunk of that $1 million creator fund for the one express purpose. I want to create some timeless content. Like I want to do 20 minutes on compounding interest. I want to do, portfolio theory. I want to borrow or steal from Nick Black stuff. I want to do a thing on cognizant bias. I want to do a thing on basically, the history of money and understanding money. It's financial illiteracy is rampant in the world. Some might say by design, others, I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I will tell you, it's awfully odd that the one thing that we're all ingrained to interact with at a very, very early age, and it stays with us until the day we die, is value transmission. Mm-hmm. It is not taught.
Yep. Well, I think in terms of it being a conscious decision, to not educate people about money, I 100% think that that's the case. United States is a 70% consumption-based economy. So if you have a bunch of educated consumers out there, that's probably not great for our overall GDP. And it's also a very rare thing, by the way, that we have the situation like we do in the United States, where people who don't have this education have such access to credit and things of that nature. Like the concept of being able, the buy now, pay later concepts, where no credit checks, you can buy whatever, and you'll just figure it out credit cards with like, $25,000, $50,000 limits that are extended to 18, 20-year-old kids. Like that's pretty much an American concept. But in terms of value transmission between creators and audience members, to me, that is definitively where platforms are going and need to go. So the concept of social 1.0, web 1.0 was platform shows up. So like, let's say Facebook or Instagram, creators come onto the platform. You guys do all the work. So you create the content, you spend the time in terms of the production, the money in terms of production, and the platform takes that content, they sell that to advertisers, they keep 100% of it. And then you guys as creators are left to go and make third-party deals with sponsors and whatever else. For the biggest creators in the world, that's a viable concept. So if you're like a YouTuber that has millions and millions of followers, then maybe that works. But the vast majority of creators struggle with the ability to be able to monetize content. So we need to rethink that from the ground up. There needs to be a more meritocratic way of going about the actual revenue splits. And so our concept is give creators a platform where they can monetize, even if their audience is fairly small. The cool thing, I saw a question pop up in the chat, so I just want to address it, is the cool thing about having a fintech platform is you are generating a lot of money from the transactions. We don't pay creators from the money that's generated directly off of their video, but what we do is we take a certain percent of all platform revenue. We put it in a content creator bonus fund, which I've already put $1 million in that fund to start, just to get us going, but that'll grow every single month. And then based on the engagement on the monthly basis, we bonus the creators out. So there's a massive incentive for creators to create high quality, engaging content, because not only do you make the money from your tips and your subscriptions and the sponsorships, but you can be eligible for the content creator bonus fund, which gets paid out every single month.
And that's what I'm going for, because I want to do, I got my son Dylan, my 23-year-old is coming November 30th to live here in Costa Rica, and he's going to be part of the home building. We're going to build this home together, and we're going to document that whole thing. But he's coming down specifically for one major purpose, right? To get on my good side, so that when I die, he gets the whole wealth. I said, that's the deal. You want to be wealthy when I die? Come down here and work and eat, live off of top ramen and beans and rice, and suffer for a while, and you'll get there, and you'll be my IT guy, right? Because I am clueless with all this stuff, right? But I want to do whiteboard stuff. I want to do animated stuff. I want to put together a series of content for financial literacy that will be just as impactful 5 years from now as it from the day that we do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I think that's the journey. If we can educate each other around money, then I think we'll be a lot better off. I'm one of these guys, I believe, at the heart of most of the strife and anguish in the world is this despair because people feel they're getting screwed.
Well, they are.
It comes from not having control, not being in control. And I will tell you, having full control over my finances, I no longer have any of those issues. Like all my political stuff has gone away, all my anger around this or that, all those things have gone away because I'm now in control. I make my financial decisions. I am not the victim of the Fed. I am not a victim of this policy or that policy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really well said. First, I think when you first start to make money, there's this. I came from a background where no one had money. So the first thing I did when I started to make a lot of money on Wall Street was, you feel like this urgency to buy material things and to like show people how successful you are, and then that fades pretty quickly. And then you realize that like none of that really makes you happy, and the thing that really makes you happy is the ability to be able to live life on your own terms and to wake up in the morning and not work a job that you hate and blah blah blah. So for me, it's financial freedom really comes from understanding how to make money, to not have to work for money and have money work for you. And the amazing thing about money, it's the best employee of all time. It works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It never calls in sick. It never comes to work hungover. It just sits there and works for you. The only time it doesn't work for you is if you withdraw it and you spend it on material items. So that part of it is really, really cool. And the precipice is really at about 100K. That's what I always tell people, like, it's a struggle to get from 0 to 100K. But once you get to 100K, you feel like you've gone from like the horse and buggy era to jumping on an airplane and being able to get from point A to point B a lot faster. It's the first 100K that I think is the hardest. But the best time to plant a tree was really like 30 years ago. The second best time is today.
Right.
So what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to introduce people to financial markets that otherwise wouldn't have. So, our thing specifically as it relates to minorities and women and people that have been kept out of this walled garden, we want to create an environment where they feel comfortable, where it's a format and a medium that resonates with all the other aspects of their life. So they're really saying like, okay, great. I'm going to these other platforms to learn about, beauty and wellness and travel. Okay, well, like, why is finance any different? And if we can do that, if we can be that on ramp and we can introduce people to financial markets because it's a human to human connection, a community connection, then people are going to actually start to get involved. And like, that's the biggest hurdle, right? Is like, how do we get people involved? Once they're involved, it becomes a snowball effect.
Well, I think if there's anybody on the planet who can make financial literacy sexy, it's you, young man.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you, Jerry.
And you know what? A lot of it, I think that's, and I'm joking, but there's something real there in that we have all grown up, and it doesn't matter what country you're in, because I'm finding it here in Costa Rica. It seems to be very prevalent in Latin America, as well as what I remember from the States, my growing up. It was always kind of impressed that you needed a guide, that you would not be able to be successful in financial markets because they're so complex and there's so much to learn and understand. So you're better deferring that to an expert.
Yeah, that part's total, absolute, 100% bullshit. It really, really is. Systematically, that was what Wall Street was built on. The concept of look, we need to create our own language, all the Wall Street vernacular, all of the Greeks, all of the rest of that stuff, to be able to convince people of exactly what you just said. This is too complex for the layperson. Give us your money. Walk away. Like, we'll return whatever we're going to return. We're going to continue running our party, and you're not invited. And until the financial crisis, I think that most people kind of bought into that narrative. And then the financial crisis happened and the veil was lifted, and the tide went out, and people sort of saw that most people on Wall Street didn't have a swimsuit on. And it was like, oh God, how bad is this? Well, it's bad enough to crash the global economy bad. And that's when people in our generation, millennials and Gen Z that were young at the time, really started to develop the distrust for institutional Wall Street that exists today. And I've never seen any setup. And, obviously I'm talking my own book here in terms of being a fintech founder, but I've never seen any setup where the new startups actually have a major advantage over the incumbents, the way that new fintech startups have an advantage over the legacy financial institutions. Why? Because those brands don't resonate with young people. And the older brands know it. Like Goldman Sachs knows it, Fidelity knows it, Charles Schwab knows it. They know that during this wealth transfer, which we're now in year one of a $70 trillion wealth transfer from my parents' generation, the millennial parents' generation, to millennials and Gen Z, they know when those funds get transferred, when you transfer your huge portfolio to your 23-year-old son, that he's probably not staying with that Gordon Gekko type broker that Wall Street was run on over the course of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. So what are the new platforms? Well, the new platforms are technology first, low cost solutions, and I think are going to be community driven and content led.
I couldn't agree more. Let me take a second and go through. There are a few folks that have chimed in and come onto the stream since I did some shout outs. I'd really like to say hello to Notorious XRP. And again, thank you so much for the tip. Lee, nice to have you in the house. I saw Kathleen is here, and Clara Martinez. Hola, and cómo está? She's from Mexico City. Nice to have you in the house. And I think, okay, yeah, the rest are questions and stuff. So here we go. Getting a college degree is, oops, Brady. Okay, getting a college degree has become a huge scam now. Whatever you want to learn, you can through a simple Google search. You just pay for a piece of paper saying you learned something. There is something so true, but also so scary about that. Tobias, you come from, you have an SMU degree, right?
Yep.
Southern Methodist University. That's no small school.
Not a target school, but we actually had a great, I think now they're a top 50 business school, and we actually had a finance with alternative asset management major while I was there. So it set me up well. I agree to some degree with that question / statement. So the issue is, without college, how do we evaluate people for new jobs? Meaning, college isn't necessarily a test of your intelligence. You can cheat your way through college. You can study the night before the test, whatever. It's a test of whether you can discipline yourself enough to get through 4 years following the system that's necessary, and get the GPAs and all the rest of that stuff. So evaluating talent, like I'm hiring people now, evaluating talent's really, really hard. It's very difficult. I would say the only area where we've kind of sorted it out is on engineering. And you'll see now, Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook, they actually offer a non-college degree engineering test. I think you can only take the test one time, maybe two. But if you take the engineering test, which it's like a mix of let's say like an IQ test and an actual coding test, but you can take it, I think, as young as 16. And if you pass, it basically sends you a job offer right away. So you can skip college, but that's a quantitative job. How do we evaluate?
Built on a hard science.
Built on a hard science.
Built on a hard science. That's the ticker there.
Right. So it's like, if in a typical business job, like if you get a business degree, or if you get whatever, a marketing degree or something like that, like how would we evaluate people if there wasn't the college system? So that's kind of the first issue. The second is, for me, college is about networking and getting yourself into a situation where you can meet a bunch of folks. And I had a bunch of what do you want to call them, college friends that you hang out and party with. But I also had a close group of friends that were in my business school that, we did a lot of studying and classes together. And I talk to all of them all the time. And we have a WhatsApp chat or whatever. And we're always kind of throwing ideas against each other. And I know when I was kind of thinking about, starting TradingTV, that was the first place I went, was to my college group of buddies. And a lot of them became my earliest investors. So I think the networking and the maturity aspect of college, if done correctly, is also something of a benefit.
Yeah, I believe there's a value in school. There is a value in learning. Mm-hmm. Are you going to learn everything you need to be successful in business or in any endeavor in school? Not necessarily. It's absolutely, though, imperative for hard science stuff, i.e. medicine, i.e. engineering, i.e. mathematics, etc. Not so much a lot of the other stuff. So I'm going to put you to the test here now. First question: are you capable of being 100% honest, regardless of the outcome?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh God.
I'm gonna ask you to be 100% honest. So you are evaluating talent all the time. You are interviewing content creators. You're hiring people that you're going to pay to run TradingTV. What was the evaluation of Jerry V. Hall when you got off the Zoom call with him, what did you write down in your notebook?
I wrote down your story. Yeah, I think you're a great content creator, but I think your story about making a lot of money during your early career and then that coming to an end. And I said 100% honest. So I got to tell your audience, you having whatever, I think you said like $23,000 or $27,000 in your account and having a real gut check. I mean, you were probably too old to start a new career.
50.
Yeah, you're probably too old to start a new career. And you had to make a decision because 23,000 or 27, whatever it was, isn't enough money to get you through probably the end of the year, never mind the rest of your life.
Right.
And the guts and tenacity to say, okay, I'm not going to look to someone else to solve this problem for me. I'm going to solve this problem myself. And how am I going to do it? I'm going to begin my financial education journey. I'm going to get really smart on how money moves and how to make money with money. And once I have that done, I'm going to go all in, meaning I'm going to take my $25,000 that I have in my bank account and I'm going to put it in and I'm going to make this work. And how am I going to do it? I'm going to move to Costa Rica and I'm going to work on a farm so that my costs are zero and this money is in the market. And if that doesn't work, then, I guess I'm a farmer for the rest of my life. And if it does, then I'm going to be able to create a financial nest egg that I can eventually, pass on to my kids and start the generational wealth journey. That is a story that I don't care who you are, like that resonates in a major, major way. And I want to help you. I want to help you, get that narrative out there. I want to help you tell people because I think it will inspire a lot of folks to get started, because that's a back against the wall situation. I think a lot of people are in probably a better situation to get started with their investing journey than that. So seriously, like, I don't know if I would have been able to do it. And I think you have a lot to offer from an educational standpoint. So that was my evaluation of it.
Well, you're a good listener.
I do listen. Yeah.
And you just told me two things. One about you. You're a good listener. And I have a new sense of your sensibilities. And one of the things I find really interesting, and this could be a really good idea for TradingTV, is you as the CEO, once a week, once a month, but with some kind of regularity, do a thing on a creator story.
Yeah.
Follow a narrative. And whether it be through a thing like what we're doing right now, or just you, like if you could have free-rolled that for 15 minutes, recorded it, put it out. This is, why I wanted Jerry Hall, why I want Nick Black, why I want so-and-so, why I'm glad so-and-so's here because, boom, these human things.
Right.
Or beyond the tally of my particular balance sheet at any given time. Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the people that we're choosing to work with, it's obviously in the beginning and to have success in the platform, it's a reflection of who we are as a brand. So it has to work. We have to be very cognizant and very careful about who we're putting out there because, it's representative of our brand and because it has to do with money. And we want to make sure that there's credibility associated with that. So it's a really, really important decision. Obviously, we're not going to get all of them right. I'm going to make mistakes. We're going to have, people on the platform that disappoint or whatever. But if we get most of them correct by doing our due diligence, and for me, that means meeting the creators that are going to be brought onto the platform one-on-one as a CEO, before, kind of granting them the keys to the castle and giving them the verification badges and all the rest of that, then I'm happy to do it. I think the issue with a lot of these platforms that have popped up and gained in popularity, I'm thinking about Clubhouse primarily right now, is that the moderation and sort of their thought process about quality control didn't seem to be there. They were really focused on growth. I think growth is good. I think growth is necessary to be able to raise more venture capital dollars, market, get people on the platform. But I think that quality control, moderation has to be paramount first and foremost. If you can create a great experience with fantastic content creators, you're doing right by them and they're doing right by their fans, followers, and audiences, I can scale that. What I can't scale is chaos and nonsense just for the sake of telling people that we have 100,000 or 1 million users or whatever.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Brady, if I missed anything, throw it up on the screen. One of the neat things that I do, Tobias, every week is I bring in somebody at the end.
Yeah.
And this week it's Bitrue Avenue. And Bitrue has been such a joy in that she's younger.
Okay.
She was not born and raised in the United States, although she lives in the United States now. So she brings a really nice, diverse background to her questions, right? And we're becoming more and more global. So I'm just tickled pink that Bitrue has joined us tonight. Hi, Bitrue. Uh-oh, Bitrue froze.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, the Bitrue froze. Okay, Oh, wait,
no,
she's
there
back.
She is.
There we go. I had to turn off my Wi-Fi here.
All right, good to have you, Bitrue. So do you have any questions for Tobias?
Yes, I do. Hey, nice to meet you. I was actually listening to you guys while I was driving. I was trying to rush home so I can ask a few questions. So is it like a website based where it's kind of like YouTube, you said, where people can just like go to trade.tv and then they just log in, create an account and log in? Like, how is that setup work? And is it like a paid program? Is it like, how does that work?
Right. So we're launching the web presence first. I think the easiest way to envision the first version of TradingTV is sort of a fintech love child of Twitch and Discord. So combination of live streams. We do have video on demand, which is more of a YouTube experience for people that want to recall content, and then community-based chats. So we're in invite-only private beta right now. The point of that is to sign content creators so that there's content to view and live streams to engage with when we do let people on. We are hosting a wait list right now. So the wait list is on www.trading.tv. All you have to do is put your email in there, and we're going to start letting people onto the platform at the end of the month. So it'll roll out over the course of November and December in sort of invite only mode. And then hopefully everything goes well and we'll be able to open it up to everybody come January.
Okay. And is it going to be like a YouTube where it's a free site, or is it going to be like a subscription based?
Yeah, so we actually give the creators that choice. So what we're doing is we're building out the subscription tools right now. So creators will be able to choose every piece of content will be able to be either public or private, paid or free. So that means like you would be able to, like, let's say, host a live stream that's totally free, but you might, if you wanted to have an experience like this where you're brought on a Jerry Hall show, maybe you would have to be a subscriber to be eligible for that, and that creator would be the one that would price that. Additionally, it would work the same way with a video. So if I'm going to publish a video, when you're publishing that video, you make a decision whether it's going to be public or private, paid or free. If you're a subscriber, now not only do you get access to Jerry Hall's live stream where you have the ability to engage with him in a chat or come onto the show, but then you'd be able to see some of the content that's behind a paywall as well from a video perspective. But in terms of actually coming on TradingTV, that's totally free.
Okay. So as far as like your financial goals for the people that are coming onto the show, like are all your hosts financially, like they have a financial background where it's everybody has to kind of talk about just finance, or like is it going to be a wider space? Like how is that set up?
So our definition of an asset is pretty wide. We host content on everything from stocks and options to crypto to personal finance to DeFi, and then even getting into some of the alt spaces like NFTs, trading cards, or rare sneakers. And then what we do is we basically measure the engagement per asset class, and that decides what we want to build the transaction capabilities on. So as Jerry mentioned, like you can't boil the ocean. You're not going to be able to trade absolutely everything, but there's certain things that we know for certain that we want to be able to give people the ability to transact in. So we're starting with stocks. We'll move into crypto. probably do NFTs and then some of the more marketplace oriented businesses associated with collectibles in 2022. But from a content perspective, there's a lot of content on there that doesn't pertain to, like, let's say a transaction. So like personal finance content on debt reduction, on how to save for college, those type of things. That's just, that's just for educational purposes, not for transaction purposes.
I have a quick question from the audience, but hang on one second. Kelly Slade asks, can the creators take crypto for content?
So initially, no. It's more of the answer should be yes. But it's not, because the lawyers and the accountants are not as comfortable with paying out in crypto as they are in fiat. And we are a regulated, FINRA SEC regulated broker dealer. So the payments in crypto are something we want to get to, but right now there's a little bit of a legal blocker associated with it.
It'll happen when it happens. Go ahead, Bit. I'm sorry. I just had to get that one in there.
Oh, no worries. And then the other question I have is, as far as like technical question, as far as, let's say somebody decides to buy like a Facebook share, or that's something that they can buy on your platform. Is that, so when they create an account, are they building a portfolio within your platform, or if they end up getting crypto, are they able to withdraw it out of your platform? Like because originally I thought, when I heard the name trading.tv, I'm just gonna sit and watch other people trade or watch their trading skills. That's what I thought I had in mind, but it doesn't seem that's not the case. So can you give me more?
It very well could be. One of the content creators could be trading in real time, right? Like I might do a show on a Wednesday afternoon. Every Wednesday, I'm going to have nothing but my charts up and talk about the trades that I'm going to execute right now.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe even show the audience the actual trades I'm doing.
For sure.
Kind of like, so I am absolutely 100% positive there'll be some content creator on TradingTV that will do that.
Yes.
So it'll be a mix of all kinds of stuff.
So if we think about the relationship right now as it exists between content and actual execution, it's an asynchronous relationship, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Meaning you have to go to YouTube or to Twitter or to like wherever you get your educational financial content. You consume that content, and then at some point in time, you've made a decision that you're going to buy or sell whatever that asset. So what is that user journey? Okay, well, you view content on one platform, you close that, you then open up another platform, you put money in there or whatever, and then you actually execute the trade. But why don't those things exist together? Why can't I watch a video of someone talking about Facebook and then also trade Facebook without ever having to leave the live stream? Like now we have the technology to do that. And more importantly, there's a higher probability that the user actually completes that cycle. Like the truth of it is that most of us are being bombarded with information such that when we even, like the best example is how many times have you begun a text message to whoever and then just abandon that journey? And then you come back and they've got like 3 sentences written in like the little text bar, but you never hit send. That happens to like on a 10x with regard to completing transactions for finance. So we actually, the point here is to, when people want to make an investment, to facilitate that in the most frictionless way possible. And because the technology has evolved so much, we can just facilitate that right on TradingTV.
Okay, cool.
So I did one more before I bring Brady in.
Okay, so and the other, well, actually, I'm going to combine. Is it going to be available in all 50 states, or is it only going to be in some states, like some crypto sites? And then how does the beneficiary, if you want to hand it off to your kids afterward, works? Those two. Do
you mean who's going to custody the assets that you purchased through TradingTV?
Yeah, and also like if is there going to be an option for your beneficiary if something happens to you?
Yeah, of course. So in general, anytime that you have a brokerage account with somebody, you always have to name a beneficiary or next of kin as part of like the setup process for it, so that if something terrible were to happen, if you're in a car accident or whatever, we know where to send the money. So of course that's an option. The crypto side of things, to answer your question, yes, our partner in the crypto side has licenses in all 50 states. We think we'll be able to bring this global pretty quickly. There's a lot of countries that are actually more progressive with regard to their adoption of cryptocurrencies than the United States.
No, that can't be true. USA, USA. Okay, I'm sorry.
So yes, you will be able to you'll be able to do the trading both in stocks and crypto across all 50 states in the U.S. and we hope a number of different places around the world. I know that's important to the audience because, as Jerry said, it's a more global audience. So we want this to be a global platform.
Wow,
Awesome.
I'm friggin' impressed. Brady, tear yourself away from your chat engagement. Pop into the studio, and because I want you to get a chance to ask Tobias a question before we get into final thoughts. Brady?
Someone.
Oh,
He's in there.
Can you hear me?
Maybe I need to do it.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
there you are.
There we go. I guess I was talking to the screen and myself. All right. So, question. Oh, Jerry, you put me on the spot. I had already worked out all my everything else. Question. How do you see, or knowing what you know, whether you may not be able to share it with us or not, regulatorily speaking,
Yeah.
Is your perspective on the future a lot higher than most other people because of your position as a business owner? Or do you think our understanding of what's coming on the horizon is sort of comparable to yours just because no one really knows until, well, everyone?
I certainly don't have a magic ball, but I've engaged some of the nation's top legal minds as it relates to the securities industry to advise me on how we should go about building this platform. And their advice was, whenever you're pushing the boundaries and you're creating something revolutionary, it's always best to get out in front of it and have the conversation. So we've actually reached out to regulators and said, hey, look, this is our idea. This is what we're doing. The purpose of it is to educate people and to get people involved in financial markets and have them make better investment decisions and achieve financial freedom. Here's the mechanism through which we think that can happen. And then we sit back and we listen. And as it states right now, the regulators don't consider cryptocurrencies, NFTs, any of that stuff securities. So there's not like a way to build an apparatus around that. They're going to have to make a decision over the next 12, 24 months, however long it takes them in terms of crypto regulation. I actually, like a lot of the investors were concerned, like, hey, if crypto gets regulated, isn't that a terrible thing for your platform? No, because as crypto gets regulated, that means that more and more people are going to feel comfortable, and it's going to actually have this legitimacy to it that right now most people feel like it doesn't. I think Main Street America, and that's the reason why only 2% of all retirement funds are given access to cryptocurrency markets, because the managers of the retirement funds feel like until it's regulated, we don't feel comfortable having retirement funds in there. So
or at least until there's clarity. Is it a commodity? Yeah. Is it a security?
Exactly.
And the fact that you are a licensed broker dealer in all 50 states,
yeah.
If every crypto became a security, so what?
It's great.
Yep.
It's great. Define the rules. Define the rules. I mean, I would actually prefer it because it's going to take out a lot of these people who are doing nefarious and malicious things. And like, we're going to do away with that. Of course, like, there'll be some hoops that you have to jump through, but if you're running a legitimate business and you have, if you have user and consumer protection in mind and you're actually trying to do the right things, you should want the regulation. And I do. I hope it goes through. But so far, the regulators have been extremely excited about the idea. I think the notion that they've had since Robinhood and since the whole social trading stuff has really taken off was we need to do something to be able to educate people. And I think on our platform, like, one of the things that we're talking about doing is, yes, you have the capabilities to be able to, like, technologically there's no impediment towards, like, let's say, allowing options trading or allowing margin trading. But maybe it's the case where you have to watch half an hour, an hour of videos before that feature is unlocked. Like, things like that, I think are like the way to go about it, so that, you're kind of forcing people to become more intelligent about what they're actually doing. And then you have, then you can step back and say, look, we've done our part in terms of trying to educate this user. And at the end of the day, like, people do have to be independently financially responsible, but taking a step further than, say, like a Robinhood has.
I could not agree more. And the wonderful thing about it, we have the technology now to implement very comprehensive risk disclaimers. Right. I loved exactly what you said. Watch that you get this 3-minute risk disclaimer before you can unlock the ability to interact with it might be the Bitcoin USD market. It might be, whatever. And hopefully someday our regulators will abandon this whole accredited investor category, because all it does is give access to the, to the real wealth creation to a very small few. Yet, from a risk perspective, every single person in the world can fly into Vegas, put every single dollar they own on a table, lose it in 5 minutes, and there's no regulation or risk, risk disclaimer involved in that particular transaction. So it's kind of antiquated. I hope it changes. Bitta, any final thoughts from you? Brady, final thoughts? And then Tobias, we're going to close the show with your final thought, and then I'll say nothing and say goodbye.
Great. Okay.
So Bitta.
Yeah, it feels nice. It feels nice to see that the new space of the new asset class is also coming with new technology and new way of doing things. So it's wonderful to see that the technology is starting to incorporate the new way of investing into life. So that's great.
Great.
Brady, unmute your mic.
That's me. I think we are going to see, and even thinking about trading.tv, don't forget to head over there and enter your email address. But thinking about the concept of where that's coming, or where that's going rather, I think it's going to be like combining financial TV media and gaming, sports betting, kind of. Like it's gonna get really interesting, because you're gonna look at, I don't want to say they're athletes, but like if you compare a sports figure to a trader, they have different. Anyway, those are my final thoughts. It's going to be crazy. I can't wait to get there.
Both those people keep score, right? An athlete keeps score at the end of the game, and a trader's or an investor, trader or investors keeping score on a balance sheet.
Yep.
But it's don't think that isn't competitive. It is competitive. Tobias, your final thoughts on your interaction with us tonight, and just
I had a great time. I can't believe an hour has already gone by. It felt like 10 minutes, but I just want to say thank you to you and to Brady for having me on the show, for giving me an opportunity to hang out with you guys on Friday night, to talk a little bit about Trading TV, to tell the world a little bit about my background. I feel really super passionate about the mission of getting more people involved in financial markets of all kinds. I hope that I can be a conduit to facilitate that. And we're really excited to have you on the platform. So really, really looking forward to doing more of these on Trading TV in the very near future. So thank you to you, to Brady, and to your audience.
Right on. Thanks, Tobias. Okay, folks, that's it for us. Tobias, we always do a little couple of minutes in the back room after no adult supervision or anything.
Okay.
So I want to invite you to stay for that if you can. If you can't, you can't. Folks, thanks for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate the fact that so many of you are interacting with us in the chat. You're leaving comments in the video afterwards. You're talking about it on Facebook and Twitter. Again, all I can say is how grateful I am that we're together walking this journey of financial literacy. And until next week, from Costa Rica, Seattle, Washington, New York. Tobias, where you at?
New York City.
Oh,
Yeah.
2 in New York.
Yeah.
Pura vida.